Okay, so fantastic. Perfect. It's exactly 7:30. So I just want to share with you, just as we begin, um, the situation in the world now is very difficult. And I feel bad saying this because this is the happy month of Adar. This is when blessings and salvation comes to our people. But if you were to look at the pictures of Ukraine, which are emerging, it's rather frightening. It's not a it's a very difficult time, and for me to start a class and not to mention it, I think would be wrong. So just and it ties in actually with our class tonight. I mean, everything ties in. Judaism is so interrelated. It's one Torah, and one piece of Torah directly corresponds to everything. There's always a connection. It's not fractured, decompartmentalized Torah, but everything, because it's one God creating this world every moment. So therefore, we can always dig deeper, and that's what meditation's all about: digging deeper, focusing on on aspects which we can help us in our development and our growth as human beings, as committed to doing goodness and in this world. So to share with you, we believe and Ronald Reagan, there was a time when he met with Gorbachev, and they were trying to make resolutions about about making the world more secure. So the Rebbe said an amazing thing. The Rebbe said that you can have one person on the side of this world, and he presses a button, thousands and thousands of miles away, there is an explosion on the other side of the world. So, therefore, the world is really connected, because we see that with negativity. You know, the person obviously who shoots the missile, who sends the artillery fire, isn't standing where the destruction, the havoc is wreaked. He's far away. So the point is that if it comes to forces of destruction, of negativity, that you can be far away, and even though you're far away, nevertheless, you can impact from a distance. If it's that way when it comes to a missile, to something negative, how much more so when it comes to something positive? When we do a mitzvah, when we do a good deed, we can impact thousands of miles away, and we can make a difference. That's a very powerful thought. And this is all based upon, we believe, there's a Nobel Prize, it's called the chaos theory. And the chaos theory is a butterfly flaps its wings on one side of the world and can cause a storm on the other side of the world. Why? Because it's one world which is interconnected, and therefore, because it's one world which is interconnected, even though we're in Columbus, Ohio, but by our good deeds, and by our prayers, if a missile could be thousands of miles away and have an impact, how much more so for acts of goodness and kindness? So last night, we heard from an incredible man, a rabbi in a southeast of Ukraine. He wasn't allowed to have any lights on because that makes him a target. And he just spoke for an hour it was 2 o'clock in the morning, about how he feeds 700 people a day and how he allowed people to come into his synagogue as a safe haven, and how, he described how he had these people, they weren't Jewish, but they wanted to be in the synagogue because they believed in the power of the synagogue, and little kids streaming inside with their goldfish, with their pets, because that's what's so precious to them. So the idea is that sadly and painfully in war, if war can wreak havoc, and if war doesn't discriminate, sadly it should, but it doesn't discriminate between good and bad. When the missile goes off, it goes off for everyone, and there's tremendous civilian damage. So if it's that way when it comes to negativity, how much more so when it comes to positivity, when it comes to doing good, like this rabbi, this selfless man, it doesn't matter who he's helping, as long as he's helping, that's all that matters. And that's how we fight darkness with light. And it's what's for me, very, very interesting. The metaphors that this President Zelensky used, and this idea, he spoke about light over darkness. He was when he started, he was the servant of the people. These are all Hasidic concepts, and those of you who have taken other JLI classes know that there are 10. We had at the beginning of this class, there are 10 attributes, sfirot, and these 10 attributes, they parallel with the 10 attributes that God used to create the world. And Malchus, the idea of service, the idea of creation, of kingship, is on the bottom. And when the Alter Rebbe, the first Chabad rabbi, was cast into jail, and people didn't want his teachings to succeed, they told the Russian Tsar, they said, look, he says that Malchus, this idea of kingship, is the bottom sphere. And the Alter Rebbe, the first Chabad rabbi, he explained that a real king is not on the top, is not elevated, but a real king serves the people. A real king goes to the bunkers, goes to the bomb shelters, and helps the people and relates to the people and serves the people. And that's why Malchus, the 10th attribute, which is kingship, which you think would be on the top, the king's on the top. No, it's really on the bottom. Because that's what it means to be committed, and that's what it means to serve the people. So how is this? So therefore, like I think we mentioned in the past, the Rebbe says that if the world, it says in Ethics of Our Fathers, the world rests on 3 things: on Torah, on prayer, and acts of kindness. So when the world is shaky, we have to improve. We have to do extra Torah study. We have to do extra prayers. And we have to be extra kind and do acts of goodness and kindness. And this is the whole idea. This is the whole idea of securing the world, because we explained that there's a body and a soul. Yeah, there's a world. Yeah, there's real things going on in the world. But the whole idea in one of the classes we had in this series is that there's a soul to everything. And the soul is what really depicts the essence. Like we gave the example, when you have a handshake, they're just shaking hands. What does that mean? But that's just the physical manifestation of something spiritual, something beyond just 2 hands shaking. There's the meaning, there's the soul, there's the intention. So therefore, of course, there's a world. Of course, the world sadly looks like it's independent, but it's our job to find the intention to meditate, to contemplate about what it means. And when the world is shaky, we increase, like light needs to be increased to banish darkness. So what is this particularly relevant to? This week's class is about bringing holiness into the world, into three things: into our work, into our food, into our sleep, and into our work. So these three aspects. So that's what we're going to have meditations, 3 meditations about each one. So what is the connection? What is the connection between war and this mindfulness and being deliberate, that when you eat, you're not just eating food. When you sleep, you're not just sleeping. And when you are working, you're not just working. Yeah, the physical aspects to our existence. But we have to probe beneath the surface. We have to do more than meets the eye. We have to look for the soul. So the Rebbe explains very, very beautifully in another place. It's based on the Zohar. And the Zohar, the book of spiritual emanation, because the whole idea of light is to reveal what's there. It's not like we create things, we just reveal what's already there. So in the Zohar, it says, that an amazing thing, that the word for bread is synonymous with war. Why? Everything in Hebrew, as we've been explaining, is very deep and spiritual and meaningful. What could be the correlation between bread and between war? I mean, my wife's challah is incredible. You know, people fight over the bread, but they wouldn't start a war for the bread. You know? So what's the connection? Why is war, the Hebrew word for war is milchama, and lechem is bread, and lechem is the root, 3 letters, the root of the word for world. And the Zohar elaborates, and the Zohar says that even when we eat something seemingly as mundane as bread, it's up to us to bring and to find and to struggle. It's okay to struggle with our animalistic soul to make sure that we're not just eating it for the sake of eating it, but rather we're eating the food to exalt the food, to make the food holy, to make the food. And we're going to explain what happens when we make the blessing, when we have the right meditation about eating the food. We are going to explain what actually occurs. But mark my words, it's not simplistic. There's a reason why Weight Watchers is a $1 billion company. There's a reason. War is something hard, something difficult. And of course, war is something we want to avoid. But when it comes to the war, the battle within ourselves, which is raging, we have the godly soul and we have the animalistic soul. And they are struggling to who is going to be dominant. So therefore, when we take the piece of bread and we're about to make a blessing on the bread, when we have the right intentions and we eat the bread for the right reason, then we have won the war. When the forces of goodness and kindness have become victorious. It's up to us to make sure that we have the right intention, that we have the right kavanah, the right meditation for doing that. So having said that, we're going to start with the first quote. And the first quote is on page 148. And this is something which is very famous in Judaism.
All right.
Page 148.
Know God in all your ways, and he will direct your paths.
Okay. This is an amazing concept. Judaism, unfortunately, in America, has been radically changed. People look at Judaism through the lens of a secular experience. Now, what do I mean? You know, there was a rabbi, and you know, the rabbi, he went to a university, and they said, "Hey, rabbi, why do we keep kosher? Who needs to keep kosher?" The only reason back then in the desert, thousands of years ago, they didn't know what was healthy, what wasn't healthy. But say we have FDA inspection and all the food is healthy, so you don't have to keep kosher. So the rabbi said, let me ask you a question. Christianity has this place they serve God, it's called a mosque. And Christianity has a place they serve God, it's called a church. What do Jews have? And these university students said, a synagogue. He said, no. In Judaism, it's not about just making the synagogue holy. We have to make every place holy. And not only that, Christians have a priest, Muslims have a mufti. What do Jews have? And everyone said, we have a rabbi. And this particular rabbi said, you're wrong. Every person has to find God not just in the synagogue, but every person, every place they go to. So then the last question he said is, Christians have a holy day, it's called Sunday. Muslims have a holy day, it's Friday. What do Jews have? And now the college kids understood. They answered every day, because Judaism is not about just certain days, making these days holy. Judaism is not just about Shabbos and Yom Tov and Yom Kippur, all these exotic spiritually charged days. Judaism is about making every single day holy. Judaism is about finding God in everything we do, every person, and every time. The word for bread is lechem, which means a battle. And the reason is because everything we do is a battle. Everything we do, are we doing it because of the right reason? Or are we doing it to give in to our animalistic soul, our animalistic tendencies? What motivates us? Why are we doing what we're doing? So we believe that it's not just rabbis serving God on Saturday in the synagogue. We believe every person, every day, in every place is able to serve God and find God in creation. Shia, can you please read page 149, text 1b?
Bar Kapara taught, which is a brief passage upon which all fundamental principles of the Torah are dependent. Know God in all your ways, and he'll direct your paths.
You see very, very clearly that the whole idea of Judaism is totality. It's everything you do, you are able to exalt and make holy and make special. Every person, every day, every place. So actually, in Hebrew, we believe that everything could be divided in those three things. Olam, world, Shana, time, and Olam Shana, and Nefesh, person. A person at a time, in a place, it shouldn't just be limited to whoever that great person is, whatever religious symbol he may be or she may be, but it's about making everyone special. It's about totality, like the 1a, the first quote, everything you do, God is present, God is with you. We just have to try and find God. So Shia, can you please read on page 150, text number 2?
We should direct our hearts and the totality of our behavior to one goal, becoming aware of God, blessed be He. The way we rest, rise, and converse shall be directed to this end. For example, when involved in business dealings while working for a wage, we should not think solely of amassing wealth. Rather, we should engage in such activities for the sake of being in a position to obtain that which our body needs: food, drink, shelter, and a spouse. Then, when we eat, drink, or engage in intimate relations, we should not intend to do these things solely for pleasure to the point that we eat and drink only that which is sweet and tasty, and we engage in intimacy for pleasure. Rather, we should focus our minds while eating and drinking on the exclusive benefit of maintaining a fully healthy body. Therefore, we should not eat whatever the palate desires, which would put us on par with animals, but rather we should select foods that are beneficial for the body, whether they are bitter or sweet, and we should avoid substances that are harmful to the body, even if they taste delicious.
So the whole idea is that we have to try and elevate everything we do. Now, if you go to page 75, and we can unmute everyone. We can unmute everyone.
All right.
So we're going to unmute everyone. On page 75, this is a very personal, you don't have to share it. If you want to share it, you can share it. But on page 75, if you could do exercise B1 on page 75, jot down your preferred food for each of the following: breakfast, dinner date, snack, common food, and dessert. So it's page 152, breakfast, dinner date, snack, comfort, food, and dessert. Now let me ask you a question. Let's say you are stuck on a desert island without a clue when you're going to be rescued. What food that you would want to have with you? What food would you be interested in? You know, we wrote down for breakfast, for dinner, for comfort food, for snack, for dessert. But let's say you're in a desert island. What food would you want to have? Okay. Does anyone want to comment? Does anyone want to comment on the? You could take off. We could show it too.
Yeah. Well, I can't unmute them, but they
Oh,
have
you
the
can't
ability to
unmute?
They can. They have.
You have to
ability
unmute yourself if you
All
want
right,
to
we have
speak.
one comment.
Okay.
All of
Um,
all
okay, this was from a little earlier.
Oh, that's
Rush.
familiar. Okay, what do you want to say, Wendy?
okay, so if I was on a desert, I would probably choose an unlimited supply of all different kinds of salads. If I could be that
Okay,
choice, that choosy.
why salads? Tell me. Why salads? Why would you? And I bet you salads in your second answer is not what you wrote for all those favorite foods and comfort foods and everything else, correct?
Well, I didn't actually get a chance to write them all down, but salad is one of those. I mean, you know, it's just it's one of my happens to be one of my favorite foods because you can do so much. You know, you can add to it, take things away that you don't like, and so that's all. That's one of my favorites.
But it's also healthy and it'll sustain you in a proper way. When a person is eating for comfort, when a person's nervous and they want to chill and they eat food, so then you want to enjoy, you want to get a big burst of energy. I get it. But when a person, isn't just when a person's eating for comfort, they want to like have what makes the taste buds sizzle.
All right, throw in pizza then, pizza and a salad.
Okay, but maybe when it comes to you're on the island, you got to survive. So now all of a sudden, it's not just random mindless eating, but rather it's very focused, very intentional. And that's the idea of eating can be mindful. Maintaining your health, it's not random, it's actually something which is very much part of who and what you are. Okay, so we believe in making things holy. That's what we gave the example before, and that's why the rabbi, he told the college kids, is it any wonder that every person, every place, every day can make it special? It's not just Saturday synagogue and a rabbi. In Olam, in world, in Shana, in time, and in Nefesh, in person, it could be transcend all the differences, make everything holy. So why do you think, first of all, we do make a blessing. And the blessings, they look very simplistic, but really they're not. The blessings are actually very deliberate, and they create an opportunity to have mindful exposure. That's what the blessings are. So what else do you think is special? What else do you think when you eat food would help you have a more meaningful meal? What do you think could possibly help with making that meal special? What do you think? If anyone wants to put in the chat, or if they want to unmute themselves, yes, Wendy.
Glass of wine, I think, would make that meal a little bit more meaningful.
Okay, why?
Well, I mean, because, I might not put a lot of food, in my mouth if I'm following it up with a glass of, with sips of wine. I might eat less.
Bless you.
Mm-hmm.
But you see, we want to slow down the process and we want to make it special. If we realized that there was a complex production chain that created the food that we ate, every time, someone says it, ritual prayer. Yes, very good. You see, ritual prayer. Before you eat, we make the blessing, we do a prayer. We're very conscious, mindful that we're not just eating food like animals to eat food. Rather, we're eating food because we want to elevate. And we're going to speak about this and explain it. A lot of us have been by a Friday night dinner. And when you have a Friday night dinner, on Friday night, you have 2 loaves of bread. It's a custom. When you make the blessing to put your 10 fingers on the bread. I mean, there's many different reasons brought. They bring one reason here, which isn't really the standard reason. There's spiritual reasons because there are 10 words in the blessing. Hamitzi lechem min haaretz. That's what you say when you put your 10 fingers on the bread. But there's, first we'll read, I'm not, the explanation they gave in text 3 is not the regular sheet. You want to read text 3?
Sure, please. Before reciting the blessing over bread, put both your hands on the bread, for your 10 fingers reflect the 10 mitzvot associated with bread making. They are to avoid plowing with two species of animals together, to avoid growing forbidden mixtures of plant species, to leave leket, shikha, and peya, three distinct forms of overlooked harvest, for the poor to collect, to bring the first fruit Bikurim to Jerusalem, to donate the Truma tithe to a Kohen, to observe the rites of the Meiser Rishon and the Meiser Sheni tithes, and to donate a portion of Dochala to a Kohen.
So, my friends, it says over here there are 10 commandments, mitzvahs which brought you to food. In other places, when it says, why do people put their 10 fingers on the chalas, on the 2 loaves of bread on Friday nights and on the Saturday day? The reason is because there are 10, your fingers represent 10, and there are 10 acts a person has to do from planting the wheat to harvesting it to grinding it. There are 10 different malachas, 10 different actions a person has to do. And these 10 actions produce bread. Bread doesn't just happen. We have to make it happen. It's a process. That's one of the reasons why at a circumcision, people wash, they have a meal, it's a happy occasion. But the idea is, like at a circumcision, God didn't make the baby uncircumcised. He had to be circumcised because we're all about being conscious that we have to fix the physical world. Now, that explains how we can make our eating food more spiritual, more lofty, more meaningful. But on page number 154, there is a spiritual reason. There is a spiritual reason. And has anyone heard about sparks? Not physical sparks, spiritual sparks. No. So we believe that when God created the world, this is a spiritual concept spoken about in the Kabbalah, in Jewish mysticism. God hid in the world spiritual sparks. Literally, when we take the world and we make a blessing on it, we make it holy, we use it for what it was intended to be, we elevate these sparks of holiness and we make the world holy. We explained last week the whole idea of heaven bringing down to earth. So God from the heavens created the earth. Our mission is to take the earth that we're given and now complete the equation, bring it back to Hashem, bring it back to God, and bring heaven into this world. So when you make a blessing, when you're mindful when you eat, what in effect you're doing is you are elevating the spiritual sparks. Those spiritual sparks is what elevates, what gives strength and meaning and purpose to why we're in this world. So, can you please read page 154? 4a.
When God declared, let the earth give forth living souls, or let the earth produce vegetation and fruit trees, those very words created everything, and those same utterances continue to function as the inner life of that which was created through them. When we take a fruit or any food and recite a blessing over it with proper intent, articulating the words, blessed are you, God, mentioning God's sacred name, the spiritual energy responsible for bringing that fruit into existence is activated. This occurs because everything was created through the divine name, and our articulation of God's name and the blessing awakened through the divine energy that flows from God's name within the fruit. Then the awakened energy within the fruit provides spiritual sustenance for our own soul. This can only work with kosher food, substances that God Himself directed us to sublimate from mundane to divine. This is deeper significance of the verse. Know that a person does not live by bread alone, but rather by whatever comes forth from the mouth of God does by person live. It is not physical bread alone that supports life. Rather, when we utter God's name in a blessing and activate the spiritual energy, that is what gives life to a person, or more precisely, to the soul that animates us.
So you don't just eat food to survive. You don't just eat food because it tastes good. We believe you eat food because there are spiritual sparks of holiness that our soul yearns to elevate. That's the idea of making a blessing. That's the idea of keeping kosher. Certain foods we can elevate, certain foods we can't elevate. There are spiritual sparks that uncover the meaning and the purpose which is hidden in creation. Now, what's fascinating is once we know the reason behind food, once we understand that we can redeem the spiritual energy behind the food, we understand that it's not just teasing the taste buds, enjoying the taste. It's much more deeper than that. The Baal Shem Tov, the founder of the Hasidic movement, he said that the reason why God made us get hungry is because we are craving to make a blessing and elevate the food. We think we're hungry. I just want to eat. I hate waiting. No. The real reason you want to eat is because God wants you to take that mundane physical existence and elevate it and bring it up, make it special. Okay, Sheikh, can you please do 4B?
Yes.
Page 157.
An analogy. A king once lost a precious gem and wished his beloved son to have the great honor of being the one to successfully locate the gem. In truth, the gem was not lost. The king knew where it had been concealed, but engineered the ploy to give his beloved son the opportunity of earning it. The king also wanted a distinct pleasure of witnessing his son's hard-earned success. The king went so far as to drop his son a hint as to where the stone could be found. The analog is clear. The entire purpose for which God created this world is to enable us to retrieve the divine sparks that are lost within materiality, for we are empowered to sublimate all kosher and permissible food items. On this theme, the Baal Shem Tov revealed a fascinating mystical truth embedded in the verse, hungry as well as thirsty, your soul enwraps itself in them. These words come to answer the question, why did God create us with a craving for food and make our survival dependent on eating? The answer is that there are divine sparks trapped in material entities. These sparks long to cleave to holiness. They call for assistance, and our souls hear their call and respond to their plight. Whenever we eat or drink, we sublimate the divine sparks from the food or drink that have called us out to achieve spiritual elevation through us. Thus, the mystical meaning of the verse is this: hungry as well as thirsty. Why do we experience hunger or thirst? Their soul enwraps itself in them because the soul, divine spark, is trapped within them, the food, in the state of exile, and seeks liberation. God leaves hints for the Jewish people, indicating the various ways through which we will discover the lost entities' divine sparks and return them to the rightful owner, our Father in heaven.
This is very powerful. There is literally a war. The reason why the word lechem is bread and the word mochomer is war is because we have a war raging within ourselves, our animalistic tendency to eat food and our spiritual soul to elevate the food, to make the food holy. This is a struggle. It's a tug of war between both souls. It says, those of you who are interested in spirituality, there were 288 sparks. These are spiritual sparks, not physical. These 288 sparks, when the Jewish people were 210 years in Egypt, they elevated, it says, Erev Rav, the Arizal, Isaac Luria says, when it says Erev Rav, when the mixed multitude went out of Egypt with the Jews, the word Rav is numerical value 202. Amazingly, out of the 288 sparks, the Erev Rav, the mixed multitude, which became Jews, they represent the elevation of 202 sparks. If you take 288, you minus 202, you're left with the word Elo, then him, Elikim, which spells God, plural. This is the name of God, which is plural. And for Jews, that's a big problem. Why do you say it's plural? There's only one God. Why could there be plural? More than one God, God forbid. So the explanation is that there's one God, but God manifests himself in nature. And therefore, the world looks disparate. The world looks different. There's a table, there's a chair, there's a bench, different individualistic items. Truth be told, these items are not just disparate and have no connection. These items are really connected. And spiritually, the name for nature, for the power of God, as God is in this world, is Eloi then Kim. Elikim. And the whole idea is it's plural, but it's 86. Because the 86, we said 288 minus 202, which were elevated in Egypt, is 86. So we have 86 sparks, which are waiting for us to elevate. Are there any questions? Anyone have any questions? Okay, Sheik, can you please read page 159, text 5?
There's a way to position eating as an act akin to offering a sacrifice to God. For example, you can eat a marbled beef and drink fragrant wine for the sake of broadening your mind to better understand God and His Torah, or to fulfill the mitzvah of enjoying Shabbat and the festivals with good foods and beverages. When eaten in such a way, the meat and wine are sublimated. Conversely, if you eat meat gluttonously, simply for corporal pleasure, the energy you derive from that food or beverage is temporarily dragged down into the clutches of negative energy that obstructs God.
It is very, very powerful because it's up to how we eat, how we answer the call of the war. Do we make it holy or do we make it mundane? Does the godly soul prevail, or is it all about the physical here and now, my taste buds, the sensation of having such exotic, well-made food? It's a war, it's a battle. And we find that when we're able to prevail and we're able to concentrate and be mindful about our eating, then we have a much, much, much better chance. Here's Shia. Can you please read text 6 on page 160?
The ideal mode of serving God is that you should be able to sense the divine within the business you conduct and within the field of mundane employment. This requires more than engaging in labor or commerce for the sake of heaven, which lends to a spiritual goal to otherwise mundane activities. Rather, beyond that, you should strive to sanctify the mundane activities themselves. This is the true meaning of the verse. In all your ways, know God. Not only should your activities be oriented to divine awareness, but there should be a divine awareness within the activities themselves. A paradigm for this is eating on Shabbat, whereby the physical act of eating is itself a fulfillment of divine instruction. Similarly, our weekday food consumption, and for that matter, all mundane activities should be conducted not only for the sake of subsequent sacred goals, but also as immediate methods of experiencing divine awareness.
So we have an opportunity to prevail. Every time we eat, it's literally a war. And we believe Shabbos is like there's a time, you're not allowed to fast on Shabbos. It's all about making Shabbos holy. So we believe that Shabbos is a great opportunity to elevate the physical, to take the world and make it holy and make it special. Because there are holy sparks waiting for us to elevate, to uplift. Could you please play the first video?
Yes.
This is the video about food, and then we're gonna go into sleep.
We don't dichotomize between the holy and the secular. In other words, everything has meaning. Everything is valuable. Everything is precious. Even the most mundane aspects of life contain deep spiritual meaning. And we relate to that in a very profound way. Even eating. You have been given a raisin, just hold it in your hand, and I'll tell you what to do with it. So gently close your eyes and just become aware of your 5 senses. Become aware of what your eyes see at the back of your eyelids. Become aware of what you can hear in the room, even sounds within you. Become aware of the feel of the raisin, its texture. Anticipate the taste of the raisin once you begin to eat it. And become aware of any fragrance around you. I would like you to take the raisin and adopt a particular kavanah, focused intention. And the focused intention is that you are going to borrow the soul energy of that raisin and allow it to become part of your own energy system. You'll do that by eating it. To adopt a focused kavanah, we prepare ourselves by saying a bracha. A bracha, commonly translated as blessing, means a way of drawing down a channel for the soul spark within the raisin to become elevated through. Say it with me or just respond, Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam borei pri ha'etz. And begin chewing. And as you chew the raisin slowly, many times, become aware of the different textures that you encounter. And as the saliva mixes with the skin of the raisin, with the body of the raisin, it changes even more. Become aware of the sweetness of its taste. All these aspects that are the product of the spark soul of that raisin. Sweetness produces uplift of emotions. That is the soul spark within. Listen to your teeth chewing the raisin, thereby making it much more amenable to digestion. All the wondrous ways that Hashem created the world, all just for elevating the soul spark in the seemingly mundane and ordinary. Be prepared now to swallow the remains of the raisin. And as you do, sense how it becomes one within you. Its vitamins and goodness being extracted through the bloodstream into the needs of the body, and the soul spark within being released to a much higher spiritual state because of your bracha. Everything we do in life can be elevated and become much more meaningful if we understand the spiritual dynamics. Soul sparks exist in everything. When we do the right thing, we free the soul spark from its prison, channeling it to its higher source, and we become elevated in the process.
All right. Okay. There you have it. There are three parts. The first I mentioned, just because we have the need for food doesn't mean we have to become limited and we have to become subservient to the process of eating. There is a way to elevate the food and to thereby take the spiritual sparks which are hidden in the food and use it for something spiritual, holy, and special. And that's what sleep is all about. Let me ask you a question. If you, in page 162, imagine you're offered a magical pill that enables you to function endlessly without any sleep at all, would you take it? Explain your position. Does anyone want to say anything? Unmute themselves. Does anyone want to say on the chat? Please tell me. Any ideas? Do you see anything?
Not yet.
Okay, it takes time. Okay, Elaine Joseph, kindly repeat. Yeah. Okay, it's on page 100. and 62, exit 5.2. Imagine if you had a magical pill that enables you not to go to sleep. Would you take the pill or not? What do you think? No. You wouldn't take it. Maya, why wouldn't you take it? I tell you the truth, Maya, I would be tempted to take it because I like to save time. But why wouldn't you take it? Well, you're right. But why wouldn't you take it? Anyone wants to help? Why wouldn't you take it? No, I want to receive divine messages in my. Okay, that's very good. That's true. There are divine messages. That's a spiritual point. Yes. You know, the time when I wake up every morning very. Oh, Maya said, can you read? Can you read
Yeah.
the? Yeah. Okay, she is
All
going
right,
to
we
read.
got a couple more.
Okay.
Mayor, because it deceives the purpose.
Okay.
And from Derek, he wrote, "No, the soul needs to elevate when the body rests,"
Okay.
and that's it.
I mean, these are all right. And then the God, what's it?
The soul goes up to God to get cleansed.
Okay, these are all right. We need, like when you have a computer and you want to reboot the computer, we need to take sleep and to understand, to be mindful of sleep. We need to press the reset button. Amaya says, the idea is
To 11 through the mitzvah of
is equal. It must be equal.
Yeah, or elevate.
Elevate. Yes. It says in the Talmud, it says something amazing in the Talmud. It says there's a city called Luz. And in the city called Luz, no one died. Talmud says it was a horrible existence. People got sick of it. And after a while, they would step out of the city where they would die. What does the Talmud mean? If you don't have any, the Rebbe didn't use this word, deadlines. The Rebbe used due dates. If you don't have any barriers, it doesn't make anything special. It just keeps on going. And there's no meaning because it's never ending. When we sleep, our soul spiritually goes up to the heavens above. And when we reset our soul, what happens is we acquire an awareness. In order to go to sleep, then you can finally be awake. When you get married, you say no to the whole world. You say yes to one person. To say no to the whole world doesn't mean anything unless you say yes to someone. So when you make barriers, the barriers aren't just to keep out. The barriers are to make special what's inside. Did we miss any other?
Elias, when we sleep, is it true that we are 1/60th% of death?
Yes, the Talmud says that. That's why when we wake up in the morning, there's a very beautiful prayer. It's called Maida Ani Lefanecha. It doesn't mention God at all. And this prayer, the Rebbe wrote a book on this prayer. It's very, very powerful. We believe that the soul is a pekadon, is a gift. And the soul we're only here temporarily, not forever. The soul changes form. It's not zapped. It doesn't disappear. It changes form, as those of you who have learned in the other JLI classes. But the idea is that we come back recharged with the purpose. And the whole idea is we reset the button. Can you please read page 163, text number 7?
Yes. Okay. It is customary to recite the blessing of Asher Yatzar each morning because at the start of each day we are freshly created beings. It is therefore appropriate to praise God daily for having created humans with his wisdom.
So what's fascinating is that this prayer called Moida Ani, this Asher Yatzar is another prayer, but this prayer called Moida Ani, getting back to what Eliezer said, because sleep is 1/60th of death. Therefore, we want to get rid of this negativity, which, according to spiritual sources, goes on our fingertips. And when religious Jews go to sleep, they have next to their bed Nagelwasser. They have next to their bed, as soon as they wake up, they say this prayer before they wash their hands, and then they wash their hands to the idea of cleansing. The soul is back, there's purpose, and they can be charged to take on the day. So we believe in, before you go to sleep, we do a cheshbon hanefesh. Now, cheshbon hanefesh is the idea of an accounting of the soul. Because we're not just meandering in this world. We're not just passing time, but rather every moment is special and meaningful and a creation. Because as we've explained, time is a creation. There's a level of God that transcends time, Elikim, the plurality of a multiplicity in the world. That's nature, it's plural. There's a name of God, Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, past, present, and future in one word, which transcends time. So when before we go to sleep, it's customary for people to say this special prayer where they take stock of what they've done during the course of the day. Okay, can you please read page 164, text number 9?
Our sages instituted the practice of reciting the verse, I deposit my spirit into your hand each night before going to sleep, just after reciting the bedtime Shema. We should meditate on the idea that we are depositing our souls as if on loan and consider to whom we are providing the deposit. Our souls then draw life from on high, that is, spiritual life.
Yeah, which is amazing. It's amazing. There's very detailed nuances with this. There is very spiritual connotations, this idea of a deposit and the idea of why we say this prayer. I mean, there are 4 different levels of the Torah. Those of you, we've had different classes. Pshat, simple remez, which is an illusion, and drush, allegorical, and so, which is the spiritual. There's a 5th level, which is the level of Yechida, which is the 5th level of the soul. That's the essence. And the Rebbe explains that when we go to sleep and we wake up, there's a level of the soul, the essence of the soul, the highest level of the soul, the 5th dimension, that no entity, no negativity, no spirit, which is no good, the 60th of death, can possibly pollute. And therefore, when we wake up, we say, there's this level that we're in front of you, God. You're our king. We don't say God's name because our hands are still impure. But the idea is there's a level that cannot be contaminated. There's a level which is so pure and so holy, it is divine. She, can you please play the second video on sleep?
Yes.
Such a mystery, falling asleep, that absolutely beautiful transition as you move from consciousness into some state of subconsciousness. And what you're doing is allowing yourself to move upwards, wander your soul in higher realms where it is energized for the next morning. Gently close your eyes. And just become aware of waves rolling in from the sea. Observe one wave as it finally lands on the shoreline, losing its form, its last gasp, with its wetness extending, and then the excess gently rolling back into the sea. The cycle of a wave, the cycle of life. Are you aware of the moment of falling asleep, when the wave loses its form and spreads on the shoreline? Do you prepare yourself for the journey of your soul at night, when the soul rises to higher realms, enjoying a tutorial to further enlighten it, give it peace and rest, to become refreshed by morning time? Do you have complete trust in your sleep state? Do you willingly allow your soul to travel on high? That state of trust, bitachon, is so necessary for a good night's sleep. Biyodoi afkid ruchi. I deposit my soul in God's hands. The soul has been given to me by the manufacturer with a warranty, and that warranty includes nightly gain, improvement, refreshment. And that's why I sleep. Prepare yourself before you go to sleep to have a state of confidence that the journey will allow you to be a better you next morning. Say the Shema before you go to sleep to create that sense of absolute confidence as you deposit your soul on high. By doing so, the depth of your sleep allows the soul's return to be one that brings you strength and confidence the next morning. Prepare for a good sleep. Be confident in elevating your soul, and allow the next day to be a day of further growth and the soul's pathway through the body to reach out and make the world a much better place.
Okay, we're back. On page 165, exercise 5.3. So far, through meditation, through these ideas, through these thoughts, we're able to take our eating, make it mindful and special. We're able to take even our sleep, and we're able to make that special. In Hasidic philosophy, there's tremendous depth about the idea of sleep. When God is hidden, it says that God is sleep. It says, "Hine lo yonav v'lo yishon shem yisrael." That God doesn't slumber; He will guard us. So, what's sleep? The brain and the heart are lying down horizontal; they're on the same level. That's why it says in Hasidic philosophy, not in Hasidic philosophy, in the Talmud, that a person can dream about something which doesn't make sense. It says in the Talmud, you can dream that an elephant goes through the eye of a needle. Why? Because your brain and your heart are on the same level. Sleep is when things are distorted. This exile, before Mashiach, the Messiah, comes, God is hidden. It's like sleep. You can dream of things which don't make sense. That's not the reality. When God is, so to speak, awake, that's when the brain is on top of the heart, you see godliness. Godliness is not just something spiritual. Godliness is something which is a reality. That's why we believe, when miracles happen, last week we spoke about miracles. When miracles happen, God is revealed. God isn't hidden, but He's revealed. God is like in a state of being awake. We, the exile, God is hidden. It's a bad. The brain and the heart is on the same level. Things don't appear the way they should be. But we believe that that's only because for us it's sleep. But the whole idea is when Mashiach, God willing, when the Messiah comes, God will be revealed, and then the brain will be on top of the heart, will be standing up. And that's the idea of our brain controlling our emotions, and that's the idea of God being revealed. We don't want to have just spiritual, everything's great and it's a state of sleep. When the Rebbe used to give blessings, he used to say a blessing for revealed good. Yeah, everything's good. It comes from God. We don't want it spiritually good. We want it revealed good. You can see it. It's not in a state of sleep. So our brothers and sisters, thousands of miles away, you tell them everything's good. God's with you. Yeah, that's nice, but they want revealed good. They don't want a state of slumber, of sleep, where things are hidden. And they have to convince themselves that because it comes from God, it has to be good. They want to have revealed good. Okay. So if we turn to page 165, and all these explanations help us become more mindful, help us appreciate food, that we're not slaves to the food, helps us experience and sleep, get ready for sleep. Now finally work, and in page 165, there's the soul to work. Why do you work? You have a chance, if you want to write down 4 answers. Why do you work? And if people want to start, if you want to go off mute, or if you want to start saying, please tell me. Or she's going to tell me if you write on the... Any ideas? Or if you want to go off mute, Wendy, if you take off mute, if you want to speak, or you want to put on, yes.
So I would say one of my reasons is to help with my retirement down the road.
Okay. But let's say one of the questions is, if you could win the jackpot and you would have all the money in the world, would you still want to work nevertheless?
I'm going traveling to see my family and friends.
That's nice. But eventually, God willing, after a couple years doing that, you could get sick of it, no?
Well, I want to make sure that I put enough money in the bank to, so I don't overspend on travel. And no, what's to get sick of visiting, you just go to a different place every couple of weeks, you get tired here. Okay, see, I'm going to visit my friends and come back to see another family member. I haven't seen them in a while, so it would be nice to spend time, quality time.
Okay, people do retire. For us, we have Derek, money to help be of service, acquire resources to support family. Yeah, like Wendy, you're doing something for resources, but the truth is that although people could say the money work is a means to an end, it's not an end in itself. Happiness is an end in itself.
Mhm.
Family is an end in itself. Work is a means to an end.
Right.
So the thing is that even there has to be a reason that we're alive. There has to be a reason that we're present in this world. There has to be a reason that work has something positive. Now, we want to say that maybe we know it, maybe we don't know it. But I can tell you this, it's in the Jewish people's psyche. We have an obsession with fixing the world, an obsession. Because every ism, you tell me, from the beginning of creation till now, every single ism is something where people wanted to fix the world, change the reality they're in, make it better. And we believe that this idea of fixing, of improving the world, is something in our DNA because our soul wants to fix the ultimate problem. We don't know it. That God is revealed, concealed. The godliness isn't felt in the world. The Baal Shem Tov says the reason why we get hungry, if we know it, we don't know it, it's because there are sparks of food that our soul is yearning to elevate, to make the blessing on. Maybe we know it, maybe we don't know it, but work, even though it's a means to an end, there has to be something special and something divine in work. And we believe in, even when someone is totally, ready to retire, it's not good to completely retire because a person needs to feel that they have a purpose and a reason to wake up in the morning. They can make the world a better place. They can improve the world around them. This is like an obsession we have. And therefore, work has to have some positive side effect. And that's the idea here. Here we go. She, you want to read, please, text 166.
Sure. Work is precious. All the prophets made a point of affirming labor. Jacob requested, let me go back to tending and guarding your sheep. Moses was described as a shepherd. Moses was a shepherd. Regarding David, it is stated, God took David from the sheep pen. The prophet Amos declared, I am a cattle herder and an inspector of sycamores, but God took me from the following flock. Work is precious. God only rested his spirit upon Elisha, the son of Shaphat, while he was busy at work. As it is stated, Elijah went up from there and found Elisha, the son of Shaphat, as he was plowing. What did Elijah tell him? Go back to work. What did I tell you? meaning I did not intend to interrupt your work.
Okay, so the idea is, when this holy prophet, when he finally makes his entrance into prophecy, when he's chosen, he's plucked, he was working. Working is a good thing. And working, like we say, is we're there for a spiritual reason, because God's creating the world every single second, and we become God's partner in creation. So on page 168, text number 12.
A person prefers a single measure of their own labor rather than a gift of 9 measures of someone else's labor. It is dearer to the person because they have worked hard for it.
Everyone wants not to be given things. They want to earn it themselves. They want to have a level of contentment, of accomplishment, of achievement. And that's why it has to be intentional. But the only way we can make it intentional is if we meditate, if we think about why we're working, if we understand why we're working. Like in text 13, it's an amazing thing. When a person dies, Shia, please, page 168, text 13.
Rava taught, when we depart this world and must face heaven's judgment, each of us is asked, did you conduct business faithfully? Did you designate times for Torah study? Did you engage in procreation? Did you long for the final redemption? Did you engage in the dialects of Torah wisdom or attempt to extract a fresh concept from an existing one?
This whole idea is that we can elevate, we can make special. We're not just interested in just passing time, in meandering, but we want to fix this world. Jewish people have this obsession with tikkun olam, fixing the world, making the world holy. We don't like waking up every morning and seeing suffering and seeing the torment on people's faces and having God hidden. We need to be mindful, to meditate before work so that we can spiritually elevate those sparks that are hidden within the day, within the moments, the challenges that we are presented with. Shia, can you please play the third video on work?
Sure.
Why do you go to work every day? Whether that work be in an office or a home office or housework. Why do you do this? Is it to save money for the vacation at the end of the year? Or is it to give yourself and your family security for survival? Or do you do it to help self-realize, fulfillment, higher purpose? Since such a significant part of your life is at work, it's important to imbue it with some sense of importance, which it is. Gently close your eyes and picture yourself walking along a gentle sloping path upwards a hillside. And as you move upwards, seeing the scenery around you, it feels so pleasant, so free, so good. Is that the feeling you have when you go to work? And if if not, why not? Work seems to repeat the same mechanics. But think about it. You're an artist at work. The artist has the same mechanics, the same paintbrush, the equivalent canvas every single time, and yet each opportunity is a new work of art. Your work has to be imbued with purpose, mission, destiny. When you speak with your colleagues, you can change their lives. Speaking with confidence, speaking positively, very much affects the lives of those around you. With those words, you are an artist with a paintbrush. The more you smile at work, even without speaking, lifts the spirits of those around you. You affect them profoundly. The way you conduct yourself, personal excellence, self-mastery, gives those around you a sense of pride in the same work. The mechanics may be the same, but the mechanics are only the means of you to express your true artistry. Allow your work to be clay in the hands of a sculptor, changing your attitude, giving your work a sense of purpose, meaning, changes the world and certainly changes the lives of those around you. And this will reflect in you. You will see how your own life becomes changed, positive, uplifted, happy through your work. Work is important. It occupies so much of your day. Allow yourself to be the artist in the studio in context of your work. And that way, allow the world to be a beautiful garden that everyone can walk in with admiration. Gently focus again on your breath. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Feeling the coolness of the air as it enters and the warmth of the air as it exits. Begin moving your fingers and your toes in the room where you are. Move your fingers, move your toes. Become aware of where you are now, and gently begin opening your eyes, coming all the way back into the here and now.
Okay, we finished lesson 5. This whole idea of work, of sleep, of food, everything, absolutely everything, totality, we are able through meditation to make meaningful. When we're consciously awake, when we're asleep, when we're eating food. Here we have from Mayor. Thanks. Yeah. The session including.
Yeah, we're gonna send out an email.
Yes. Well, next week we're going to have the culmination, and I heard from my colleagues. I haven't prepared it yet, but I heard it's a really special class, and the whole idea is through meditation, through thinking, through focusing, through being mindful, we're able to elevate all different aspects of our life and make them more meaningful and imbue within them much purpose, that things don't just happen. We don't just go to sleep. We don't just eat food. We don't just work. But every moment is pumped with reason and with direction and with an opportunity to reveal and connect to God in a very positive, powerful way, that God needs us to take this world and make it special. So thank you very much. God willing, next week, Wednesday night, we conclude the 6-week course. It's been an absolute pleasure. And stay tuned, and lots and lots of blessings. Thank you.
Bye. See you next week.
Thank you. Thank you.
You. See you, Shay.
Yeah. Thank you.